So in this Realworks video, we're going to look at how we can tidy up some of the data in order to aid the refinement process. So I have a data set here, which I've downloaded via a TDX file from the X7 laser scanner. So this data set processed quite well in the X7, but I decided not to refine it and do the refinement in Realworks, just so we could clean up some of the data to do the refinement in order to basically get a better solution. So if anybody's unfamiliar with Realworks, when we import a TDX file, what it does is it extracts the scan data for Realworks from the TZF files and creates these sample files for Realworks, known as RWCX files. So when we're actually working with the data within Realworks, what we're doing is we're working with these RWCX files, and your TZF files, they'll just basically remain as is. So if we, for those who don't know Realworks, we have a registration tab, and we also have a production tab. So when we're in the registration tab, we can run sequences for our registration, such as the refinement here. But what it'll actually do is it'll feed back to the TZF files and use the TZF files for the registration. So if we go into the production tab here, any edits we create to the cloud here will be for our RWCX files rather than the TZFs. So that's fine if we're just going to continue to work on Realworks, but if what we're going to do is we're going to export this point cloud out of here, say for AutoCAD or for another project, then it's actually the TZF files that are exported. So what we need to do is we need to tidy up these files, and then we need to get it to feedback and update the TZF files if we're going to use them to export. So one of the methods that you can use, and there are many different ones, is you can do a sample by scan, and that's the process, and tidy these scans up individually. And this is the process I'm going to show you here. So in the production tab, we can go to edit, and if we select our project cloud here, you see we have some tools here for classification, sampling, segmentation. So what I'm going to do first, if I go to sampling, and there's different methods you can use here: random sampling, spatial, intensity based. There's different types of extraction there as well. But for this one, what I'm going to do is do scan based sampling, and I can select the scans that I want to sample. So basically all I'm doing here is I'm taking the project cloud and I'm actually just going to break it up so I can work with individual clouds, and it'll just create a new cloud for each individual scan that we can work with. Sometimes it's easier to do that, so if I hit create, I'll just close that there. And if I go to my workspace here on the left, if I tap by scan, you'll see that basically all I've got here is all scanned individually. So the little light bulb next to them indicates it's turned on. At the moment I only have scan 186 turned on, and I can turn them on and off as need be. If you go back up out of here, you also have the project scan still in the background. So you have the main scan, so it's basically just separated them out and created extra scans by individually. So if I look at my project cloud here, just straight off here, I can notice there's something that doesn't look right. These blue and yellow scans here must be possibly some sort of feedback, or it's cutting straight across the room, so there's some sort of interference going on there. So previously I've identified these scans as being scan 2 and scan 3. So I'm going to work with scan 2 first. If I look at it here, I know I've done the front of the building, but I'm obviously picking up some interference going through some of the glass structure, which is projecting onto the back there. So just put that down for the top menu again there. And I highlight scan 2. I can go into the segmentation tool. You get this little pop-up that comes up here. So there's different types of selection tools that you can use basically to select. The idea, what you can do it in different ways, but all I'm going to do here for this one, just very quickly, is I'm going to select a box around this area here, basically the area that I want to keep, or the area that I deem to be correct. And what for this one here, I'm going to actually keep the points outside of the area. So I've kept all the points basically that I don't want to be remaining in my scan, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new point cloud for those areas. And I'm going to close the segmentation tool down now. And what you'll see at the bottom is I have an additional scan created for the areas that I don't want. Likewise, scan free, turn that on now. Again, highlight that and use the segmentation tool. This one I'll just do a polygon, use a different selection tool. Just select the area you do want to keep. So I want to keep points outside again, and create a new cloud for them. Exit the tool. And they'll be down at the bottom here, these different objects. So what you could do is you can work through the rest, just clearing out the ones that you think are going to cause problems with your registration. And within your project, I could create a new folder there. Just call it delete, for instance. If I take these, all the ones that I created, the ones that I don't want, I can drag them into that folder. That just clears them out of there. You can also rename this one by scan. Select the folder here, delete, for what I want to delete. And I can go and use the option here under edit. You've got the option to remove the points from the TZF scans. What it's going to do here, it's actually going to say, look, these are the original files, so you should really have a backup of these, because what we're going to do is actually edit these files. So I'm just going to click OK. Give you the option if you want to compress them, but not going to do that yet. And you'll see at the bottom here, it will start processing the TZF scans, and it will start removing any, basically it says removing noisy points from TZF scans, so one of two. It will work its way there through that, doing that. So it's probably ideal that you work your way through doing as much of them, and then do this as a process at the end, and you can just leave it, something you can just leave running. So once you've removed these noisy points from your data, you can then go back into the registration page, registration tab. And because these are actually sampled from the TZFs, they won't update. So you can remove them, there is ways of updating them, or you can create a new project and bring in the new TZF files that have been edited back into a new project, and then you'll see this all cleaned up here. Because we've created this sample from the original, you will still see this in the registration tab. Although, if we go to the registration, and anything we do here within the registration goes back to the raw CZF files. It doesn't use these files that are created within Realworks for the registration. It's always done through the TZFs. So if I go back in here, under the registration tab, and I do my overall refined registration using scans. Once that's complete, we'll get a little report here, just telling us how our registration went. I've obviously only picked a 3 here, overall error, and you can save that as some sort of Word document. That said, you might actually want to clean this data up, as you can use the registration visual check when you're in the registration mode, and obviously you'd like to check your registration with a clean data set. So depending on your file size, there's a couple of ways you might want to tidy this information up here. One of the methods you can use is if we go into our registration set here, and we pick scans 2 and 3, and we go to edit. what we can do is we can create new sampled scans. So again, we've removed the noisy data from the TZFs, and what we're going to do is create new sample scans to view that data. So if we hit that, different methods, spatial sampling, resolution for this one, we're just going to put it down to 0, so we'll get the full data set. Hit OK. And it's going to go away and create 2 new sample scans from the CZS for scans 2 and scans 3. The only issue with this is that it doesn't delete the previously created sample scan. So what you would then have to do is, if I go back into scan 2, you'll see here we've still got the original sample 0. You'd have to go in and you'd have to delete that. It's going to ask you, do you really want to delete it? Yes. Remove that, so you only have the one here. You can see already it's tidied up. Number 3. And again, and now you see that we've tidied this data up here. So obviously, if you have a lot of scans, this can be a little bit laborious to go through and do that. So one of the other methods you can use is you could create a new project. And what you're going to actually do is you're going to import the TZF files. So you could go through and import all these files. All I'm going to do is just grab these 2 that we've edited. So I have these 2 in the project, and then we're just going to create the sample scans. Spatial sampling, resolution, nope. And there we have our tidied data. The only thing you need to watch if you're going to be using this method is, although you've imported the TZFs and created a sample of them, you don't actually have them within this project. What it's doing is it's actually referencing the TZF files back to the original folder where they were created. So if I was to go in here and look at the file I created, delete this job, you'll see that there isn't any TZF files within this. So what you need to do just to tidy things up, if you want to, within registration, there's the option here under edit, TZF scans for get TZF scan files, and basically it'll take a copy of the original scan files and move them into your local project folder. So if we go back in here, there we have it. We've got the TZFs for 2 and 3, and that basically just tidies everything up. So you could download all your information here. You could tidy up one project, bring it all in here, run your refined registration, and then you could go in and use the registration tools visual check just to check